Well, hey guys, Tyler Johnson here, and I have a special video for you guys. I'm actually going to go do a system walkthrough with a young reefer here in Central Oregon. Now, he's actually purchased everything that I own in my 12-gallon nano tank just before I move my system. So I'm going to go ahead and bag all this stuff up and go over to his house, and we'll go see how he runs his 75-gallon Sumpless. Alright guys, so we just got over to Garan's house, and I have both of the buckets of all the stuff that I had in the 12-gallon nano, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But I want to introduce Garan. He just got into the hobby, so why don't you go tell everybody hi and then tell us how you got into the hobby.
Well, I got into the hobby when I was 9. Right, like I first saw the saltwater fish tanks because I was in the hospital for about 4 months, and I would go to St. Charles and look at their two big 125-gallon tanks. Right. And then I went to Hawaii, and I've been doing freshwater for a long time. I was tired of cleaning up all the algae and all the fish. Always die after like a couple months or so once you have the guppies. So I finally saved up enough money to get one about 2 months
And then you got this at PetSmart, right?
Yeah.
And this is a 75-gallon tank?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. And you got the marine land lighting on here. And what skimmer's this?
That's the Octopus BH90.
Awesome. So guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into his tank. We're going to find out what his recipe is, and then I'll show you guys what we're going to put in his tank. Alright, so what kind of inspired you to design the kind of aquascape that you have going on right now?
I really liked the island, like kind of open on all three sides. So you have the fish hang out up under the power head, in the middle, and over here on the right. And they kind of, I don't leave much room in the back, so they kind of go up and around it.
Yeah, I see that. Now, what do you have going on in here for flow? I see that you have Aqueon ACP 950. Do you have anything else in here?
My canister puts out a lot of flow because it has a big pump in it pushing out through here, and it kind of makes everything just sway really nice.
Alright, so this is your canister filter down here, Garan. What do you do to take care of this each month?
I check it each month, and then I clean it every 3 just so the bio can fill up in it, and it runs my tank a lot better than if I just cleaned it every month.
So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about Garan and how he kind of gets credit for this at his school. He goes to a proficiency academy, which him and his dad were just telling me about, which is so awesome. Do you want to share a little bit of what you do and how you get your credit for having this marine tank here?
Basically, I just log everything I buy, sell, any new fish, any deaths, all my pH and salt, salinity, and calcium, and I basically just turn it in, and I'll have about 1 credit and a half by the end.
That's awesome. Now, is that something they do for other hobbies, you know, such as like dogs and hamsters and fish, you know, other types of fish and stuff like that? Yeah. Or is this kind of a certain thing for this?
Yeah, they do it for pretty much anything.
That's awesome.
Just whatever you want to do for your career that you'd like to do.
So, where do you get most of your corals? You know, us living in Central Oregon, we have one saltwater store, and I guess we kind of trade amongst each other. And I noticed some of these corals I haven't seen in other tanks. Is there a place that you get most of your stuff at?
Yeah, I get a lot of them from wholesalers in California because he's one of the closest places. Bob sells Reef. He's a really awesome guy. I lost him on my first shipment. I bought a really big fire and ice colony that split into 4. Over 100 polyps, and he sent me about 5 or 8 new ones.
Awesome. I'll put that link down at the bottom. So what I want to do, man, is I want to figure out what your recipe is. So kind of give us a little rundown on what you do each week, you know, maybe what you do in the morning with your tanks and at night, and kind of give us an idea just pretty much how you generally take care of your 75-gallon tank. And I guess you have some future plans too with some other pieces of equipment like the hang-on refugium and maybe the algae scrubber and things like that. So talk maybe about some future plans that you have as well.
Well, I started out this tank and I wasn't expecting it to go as well as it did. I've only lost 2 fish in the whole time. Every day I turn the lights on at 7, blue lights. I leave for school at 8. I turn on the white lights. They ramp up. It just broke a couple weeks ago, so I have to call Orbit and they'll replace it. But I basically run it until 8, and then or 8 or longer, and then I turn them off just for coral growth and my fish. The coral beauty's got it ripped up right now, but he's actually really healthy.
Now, you, how many fish do you have in here right now? And did you want to name some of them off real quick, too?
Yeah, I think I have about 8 fish in here right now, varying sizes, and they all pretty much have a purpose.
Yeah, it looks like you got your purple orchid dotty back.
Yeah. Some follow on the tank wherever you go.
Yeah. Those are one of my favorites. You got your cleaner wrasse.
Yeah.
Powder blue?
It's a powder blue, yeah.
Right?
I have my Clarkie. He's the anemone fish right there. I have my big one-spot gold rabbit fish. He's one of the coolest fish. He's not the prettiest, but
I love him, man. His lips even have dots on them. That's cool.
I have the coral beauty, and I think that's pretty much. And the yellow tang.
Yep, the yellow tang. So here's another question for you. What type of salt do you use, and do you do any dosing, or do you do substantial water changes to keep your parameters in check?
I use Instant Ocean, and I do a water change every 2 weeks, week and a half, and I add fresh water because we're on well water. I don't use an RODI because it removes a lot of the calcium and stuff, so it's basically natural dosing with all of the well water, and I don't have an RODI, like I said, so it's kind of a big no-no in the hobby, but my tank doesn't have any diatoms.
And your tank's been running since October, right?
Yeah.
And so what has that been since so far? What, about 5 months?
Yeah, 4 or 5 months.
That's perfect, man. And you know, the other thing too is we live in Central Oregon. I know you guys have seen Chris Henry's video. He uses city water, and I know that he has some issues with bryopsis and some hair algae. But us living out where we are, I think the water's a little bit cleaner out here. I got Dan right behind me. I think when we did his video, we checked the parts per million at his house, and tap was like 0.0094 or something. It's pretty clean water. So I'm glad to see you using it here. It's kind of cool that it's working for you, and you know, your tank looks great, Garan, or Garan. All right, guys, so as you guys can see, we got the little tube set up, and we're doing some acclimating right here. So I'm going to ask Garan some questions just before we end this video and show him putting everything in here. So what type of food do you use, man? Because that's, I think, what I use.
I use Omega 1 marine flakes with garlic.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I think my fish love it, too. Well, what's that other water conditioner stuff you have? When do you use that stuff?
I use it whenever I put my fresh water in that I add, because this thing evaporates like crazy in the high desert.
Nice.
And I just add that and add fresh water, and that's basically my calcium dose.
Perfect. And it looks like you're getting ready to put some nori in there. Yeah. Is that something you do every day too?
Yeah. My rabbit fish, he'll eat right out of your hands, and you can pet him. That guy goes crazy for him too. All my tanks.
Awesome. Well, you know what, man? I appreciate you taking the time to show us your tank. And for you guys that don't know how old Garan is, he's 14 years old. So give him a round of applause. Post a comment down below telling him good job to get in the hobby. And we look forward to seeing updates. There's going to be many more visits down here. I guess I'll get pictures from him. You are an active poster on Addictive Reef Keeping on Facebook and Central Oregon. So, guys, I'll pop up any little buttons I can to kind of help you keep in contact with Garan's tank and see how he's doing. But other than that, thank you for taking the time, guys, and we'll just sit here and watch Garan put all these back into his tank.